How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan, and this is Ade, and here we go with another edition of BoxTalk. You know, it's the final fight of the Knockout November, and this one is guaranteed to blow your socks off. The main event, Tony Bellew versus Superman Adonis Stevenson, and an undercard with Sergey Kovalev versus former heir apparent Ismail Salik. That's one card, two champions, guaranteed knockouts. Ade.
It's funny, we got this fight in Canada, ain't nobody from Canada. Yeah, Adonis Stevenson ain't from Canada either, people. Yeah, everyone's fighting in Canada, there's no one from Canada. Look, Adonis Stevenson versus Tony Bellew. Now look, I feel Tony Bellew's been completely and utterly overlooked here. It's almost like this is like a warm down fight. I wouldn't say a warm up. It's more like a warm down fight for Adonis Stevenson. He's had what, 3 fights this year, and this is his 4th fight I think this year, which doesn't really happen anymore for professional fighters. And I think like it's almost like I'm gonna have one more fight and then I'm gonna have big fights in the summer. You're not having one more fight, Adonis Stevenson. You're fighting Tony Bellew. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, your favourite to win, but Tony Bellew will put up a fight. We know that. Tony Bellew comes to fight. Tony Bellew is another thing as well. He's a massive light heavyweight, like, to the point where people saying he should really be fighting at cruiserweight. Adonis Stevenson's a super middleweight. It's a size difference there, people. I don't know if that's the only advantage Tony Bellew got. That's the problem. What do you think?
You know, I've met Tony Bellew before. Like I said, they say he's a big guy. I mean, for light heavyweight, I mean, well, I'm 6'2", about 200 pounds. Tony Bellew is clearly around my size. He comes down quite a bit. You know what I mean? He's the much bigger physical guy. You know, Stevenson's got a reputation as a puncher, but he's not a puncher in the sense where he goes and slugs it out. He's more of a counter puncher, where he kind of waits for you and draws you in. I don't recommend you drawing someone who's aggressive like Bellew. You know, Bellew's not the bomber. I think he can punch, but I don't think he's as big as a puncher as people say he is. But you don't let guys that got heavy fists drawing on you. And I think that one makes the fight very, very risky. You know, HBO are setting this fight. We've got Kovalev on the undercard because they're trying to set up a big fight for them down the line next year. I think both these guys are in tricky fights that no one could be overlooked. Yeah,
it's weird because before Tavore's Cloud fight, when they mentioned Bellew would be fighting Stevenson, I thought, okay, Bellew's got a chance there because I've seen Stevenson been put down. You know, he knocked out Chad Dawson with one punch. That can happen. Yeah. Tavore's Cloud fight showed me this guy can box. Yeah. He's not just a puncher, he's a very, very slick boxer. Yeah. And I think that could be the problem for Tony Bellew here. If Tony Bellew was in there with a puncher, I give Tony Bellew a chance. I think Tony Bellew's a good boxer. I think he's in there with someone that I think, unfortunately, is also a bit of a better boxer than him. Yeah. That's what caused the problems for Tony Bellew for me.
I think for Bellew, I think the biggest shock for Bellew is going to be that Stevenson's confidence right now. It's on the sky high. I mean, belief in yourself is one thing you need as a fighter. I mean, to knock out Chad Dawson in 1 round, yeah, to embarrass Tavore's Cloud. I mean, actually, from the first round, I think it was about a minute in, he hit him with a right hand straight in the pipe, and that was the fight was all from them basically. I mean, he knows he could bang at 175. He knows he could box at 175. And you know, if you look at his record this year, 3 fights, 2 of them within 3 months of each other, and this is going to be his 4th fight in maybe 4.5 months, 5 months. He is on a skyrocketing right now. Yeah. He really believes he's going to do this. He's actually looking at saying, guess what? I'm the man of the division. He's talking about Andre Ward. He's talking about Hopkins. He's saying, forget Bellew, I want the best.
No, yeah, you're right, and yeah, he does. That's what he's pretty much said. Forget Bellew. I want Hopkins next. I want Andre Ward. I'll go back down to 168 to fight Carl Froch. I'll fight GGG if he has to fight him. No one wants to fight him. He's literally calling out everyone, and the reason he's calling out everyone because he's 36, 37 years old. He hasn't got long left. He's trying to cash in. You can't blame him for cashing in. You got to look into the level of opposition. Who is? Bellew's probably biggest fights have been against Shalemba, against Miranda, and against Cleverly. Now Miranda's a faded person, we know that. Cleverly was overhyped. Kovalev showed us that. Shalemba, he got a draw, which he might have lost on a sneaky one, and even in the rematch fight, it wasn't a convincing fight. So what I'm trying to say is, Bellew stepped up, and when he stepped up, I don't think the performances have been that great. Miranda, he put to sleep. Don't get me wrong. So he got stopped. He put to sleep. He got stopped. Miranda was a faded, and he's not a light heavyweight. Miranda's a super middleweight at best. I just feel like this could be a step up too far. But in saying that, Stevenson's been very active, maybe too active. I mean, his last fight was only 6-7 weeks ago. Yeah. To do a 6-7 week turnaround and fight Bellew, interesting.
I'll tell you what about Bellew's performances, yeah? I think Bellew's the type of guy that fights at his level. It's all well known that he sparred and trains with Froch regularly. He's going through hard with front and he holds his own. So that means he can fight at the higher level. But I think when he fights guys like Chilemba and Miranda, who are both of them as being spoilers, he struggles, you know what I mean? When he fought Cleverly, who was a world champion at the time, he fought most of his better fight. Even though he lost, but he fought at a higher level. I think if you fight a spoilers type of fight, or if you fight a lower player fight, he kind of sticks with you. But if you fight the right guys, he's matched well, he could do this. And Bellew's good at throwing long punches. Yeah, he's the much bigger guy in this fight. Like I said, he's got that right hand as well. I think he can make it tricky, and I think he can win.
Yeah, interesting. One thing about Bellew that you can't take away, I don't think you're ever going to see a guy that believes in himself more than Bellew does. He almost is like the Everton British Bernard Hopkins. He believes himself more than anything. You watch his press conferences, he's so emotional. He's so dragged in. He trains hard. He doesn't miss a session. He's almost like a Carl Froch type person. He writes everything down. He's meticulous. This is the chance. I would prefer this chance to happen, though, in Liverpool, in London, in England, anywhere. For him to go to Canada and beat... Although Adonis Stevenson isn't Canadian, he's like an adopted Canadian. For him to go to Canada and beat Adonis Stevenson, I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like Ryan's right. Adonis Stevenson's riding this wave at the moment, where pretty much he is probably along with GGG fight of the year. He's fight of the year.
In my opinion, if he wins this fight, he's definitely fight of the year, in my opinion, if he wins this fight.
Yeah, to 4 fights against 4 bona fide, real tough guys and beat them all. Yeah, you got to give it to him.
I think Stevenson's got more ways to win this fight than Bellew has. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, Stevenson's mostly the better boxer. He's the better puncher, and his confidence is sky high. But Bellew, like I said, can make it messy, can make it dirty. I think if he waits for Stevenson, it's going to be a problem. He needs to get on him early and make it hard, make it dirty. He's been very active, like Ade said. His body might be having a little wear and tear. Make that wear and tear count.
Okay, that's one fight. The second fight could be the one to watch, people. The undercard fight. Kovalev. Now this is the other murderer row type guy. This is like the Eastern European guy that absolutely wiped the floor with Nathan Cleverly. Everyone is wanting to see this guy fight Adonis Stevenson in the summer or the spring of 2014. He ain't fighting a bum though. He's fighting, which Ryan said was the heir apparent. This is a tough fight as well.
2 years ago, before he fought, I think was it Gratchuk he fought?
Yep.
Ismail Sadiq was going to be the king of the lightweight division, yeah? All the American writers were saying that this guy's so good, he's an amateur background, and all the attributes. They were saying this guy will beat Bernard Hopkins now. That was 2 years ago. They were saying this guy was number one. But like with boxing, he lost one fight and they kind of threw him in the bin. And now he's come back. This guy can box. He can punch. He can move. And he's very relaxed in the ring. Same way like Kovalev, where he's just very smooth and fluid. That's the way Sadiq is. This fight is a real fight. Now, even though Kovalev is on a high, this is no walk in the park. Like I said, HBO trying to set this fight up for Kovalev and Stevenson to fight in the future. Both of these guys could lose in these fights. Even though they're favourites and they deserve to be favourites, none of these fights are gimmies.
See, the thing for me, everything that Sadiq does, Kovalev does, but a bit better. That's the problem for me. I think Kovalev's a fantastic boxer. I think when we saw Kovalev against Cleverly, it proved to me a few things. One, it proved Cleverly's not a world champion and not on that world title level, hence why he's running to cruiserweight right now. Another thing it proves to me, though, is that Kovalev is a fantastic boxer. A really good boxer. Almost in the GGG mold. They spar with each other, they say. You can see why. He's just like a GGG version, just a few pounds heavier. He wins this fight. I think he wins it. I really do think he wins it. But I don't think he wins convincingly as HBO might want him to win. Yeah. I think it's a tougher fight than they think. But what both fights do say is that this light heavyweight division right now is packed. Yeah. It's 4 years ago, it was dry as hell. It now is flowing with fighters. Yeah, it's definitely packed, The good thing about these fights is that if everyone puts in credible performances, I would love to see the winners, losers fight each other straight away. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Bellew versus Kovalev or Bellew versus Sadat or either way. Any mixed match you want to put, it's all great fights. It's a knockout November. As much as I think Bellew could go to points, I think could go to points, I think both these fights end by stoppage. It's very strange. It's almost like Canada's almost become this adopted country now for light heavyweight fights. Yeah. Similar to the way Germany is for cruiserweights. Yeah. It's like Canada is the place to go for light heavyweight fights, and for some reason, they've almost stacked the light heavyweight division single-handedly. Yeah. Jean Pascal and Bute, and now obviously Adonis Stevenson. Bellew's having to go over. Kovalev's gone over. Sadiq's come up from America. Everyone seems to be going to Canada, and I think we're getting great fights. And I think it sets up real good matches for 2014. Butte Pascal winner. Everyone's talking about maybe one of them fight Adonis Stevenson. I'd love to see Pascal versus Stevenson, an all-Canadian fight. That'd be a good fight. But really, for the decisions, I think Stevenson stops Bellew, and I think Kovalev stops Salik late.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they're all going to be stoppages. I'll go with Stevenson to stop Bellew, but I'm not 100% sure of it. I think it more could go to points. But like I said, they're both big punches. They're both going to put it on. If it went to points, I'm going to go with Bellew on points. But if it was a stoppage, it'll go for Stevenson.
Okay, before we finish that, okay, if Bellew wins, where does he go? If Stevenson wins, where does he go?
If Stevenson wins, I think he's going to go for Hopkins. Yeah. It's a fight that possibly can be made. Stevenson, even though he's fighting on HBO, he's not associated with Golden Boy, with Top Rank, so that fight can be made. It's one of the few fights I like that can be made due to the Top Rank Golden Boy beef. That's one of the few that can be made. Bellew, I think he deserves to be where he is, and I think he should fight the winner/loser of the Salik Kovalev. If Kovalev wins and wins impressive, again I think he has to go for Stevenson.
See, for me, I feel like although he got knocked out by Stevenson, I think Chad Dawson still has a lot to offer. Yeah. And I'd love to see Chad Dawson's name be chucked in the mix of all these guys. So I think Chad Dawson, right now, even though he got knocked out by Stevenson, in a rematch, he'd probably beat him quite convincingly with boxing. I think he really is the forgotten man that could cause big problems for the lightweight division.
What I actually want, I want Kovalev and Stevenson to fight and unify the belts. The vigilance is always better when there's one champion. If you got those two, if you got one, put those guys on the title, and then you got Hopkins on the other side, you could possibly get a unification. And you know, as much as I'm a big Hopkins fan, Hopkins can lose any fight as it comes now because of his age, and he could get rusty and get old overnight. You know, so
old overnight. He's 48.
Yeah, but you know, you could in the next 8 to 12 months, you could really have a unified light heavyweight champion.
Okay, guys, what do you think? Can Bellew do the impossible and have the kryptonite for Superman? Can Bellew really go to Canada and stop the guy that literally is the fighter of the year, in Ryan's opinions? I'm still a GGG personally, but is he going to go there? Are we really writing him off that soon? We know Bellew really can dig deep. Is this just a step too far? I mean, look at his last performance against Chilemba. Chilemba is not really recognised right now in the top 10 light heavyweight division, so it's a big, big step up to fight the guy that is recognised #1 pound for pound in the light heavyweight division. Kovalev, what happens with him? We saw what he done to Nathan Cleverly. Salik is not an easy contender to fight. Can Salik go there and cause the upset? I mean, are we going to get 2 upsets on the same night in Canada? Better watch it. Guys, thanks for tuning in for another edition of Box Talk. Remember, email us at
BoxTalk@hotmail.co.uk.
Guys, thanks for tuning in.